And welcome everybody to another episode of the Pulse of Fins Nation. I am your host, Louis Sung, and joining me once again, thank goodness, because I don't like doing things solo, Mr. Ron Caniff. How are you, my friend? It's good to have you back.
Good. Nice holiday weekend. Last Sunday before no football for a while.
Until February of next year. Going to be an awesome time this season. I'm really feeling really good about it. We're going to go into the pulse of what everybody else is feeling as well. That's what we're all about. But before we get too far into it, I'm just going to go ahead and bring it up one last time, as per always. This episode of the Pulse of Fins Nation is brought to you by ThriveFantasy.com. So with Thrive Fantasy, you can just go ahead and check out all sorts of really good stuff to get into the world of fantasy sports. If you're not sure what you're doing and you're not sure how to get started, Thrive Fantasy will make things 100 times easier for you. All you have to do is focus on the top tier athletes, and you can choose 10 out of the available 20 players to build your lineup. Each prop is assigned a fantasy value for the over and the under on how likely it is to hit. And if you can hit on the most props out of all of your competitors, then you can rack up the most points and you will win a biggest share of the prize pool based on which contest you choose to enter. So with Thrive Fantasy, they have over 140,000 guaranteed in prizes up for grabs in just week one of the 2021 NFL season. They've awarded over $4 million worth in prize money, and Thrive's featured 100,000 guaranteed contest is only $20 to enter. First place winner takes $20K. And also we do have another contest that is purely Dolphins based that is free to enter. And if you do happen to win, not only will you win the $20 grand prize, so to speak, you will also receive a free t-shirt courtesy of 5 Reasons Sports. So all you have to do is just get on there, use the promo code Dolphins, or you can use the promo code 5Fins. Just follow the link in the description. That'll be able to help you out from there. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to help you out. So go ahead, get started, go to thrivefantasy.com, or you can download the app on the Play Store or on the App Store. All right, so gonna have plenty of stuff for us to go into right now. Mostly going to be regarding the Miami Dolphins situation before the season starts. Hence why I left the little marker there. It's instead of preseason, it's pre-season. Do you see what I did there? It's a little bit of a word play on my part. So I went to go ahead and went onto Twitter, and I basically asked, "Hey everybody, so what's going on? What are your thoughts and feelings 1 week before the season opens?" And you guys gave your responses on that whole thing. So I'm just going to go into it really quickly. So one of the first ones was from Pard, that's at PJ Pard. If Tua doesn't become a top 10 quarterback, Jackson and Igbenogany don't make huge leaps, does Greer get another shot? All right. So I'm just going to go ahead and let you get started, Mr. Caniff, talking about that sort of stuff. So if Tua doesn't become a top 10 QB this season, and let's say Austin Jackson and Noah Igbenogany don't suddenly become superstars as well, does this basically implies that Greer should be fired? So what are your thoughts on that whole thing?
Well, first of all, I think that Iggy's going to take at least one more season. So I don't think we're going to know on Iggy this season to start. Jackson, I mean, he needs to be a comparable, what's the word I'm looking for? A competent starter. I mean, he really does. And Tua, I don't know. Quarterbacks, sometimes they take time. I think that saying that this season and then it's done, not that person's saying that, they're asking the question. So then my answer on that is no. Maybe after a couple seasons, but I still don't think you just judge it by these 2 or 3 guys. You got to judge a roster by up and down everything they've done, 53 guys plus the practice squad. And so far, I mean, you have to be impressed with the way this roster has been built. Yes, there are some higher picks that we wish maybe had hit a little better, some that we don't know about yet. But overall, I think Greer's done a phenomenal job with the roster, especially with all the young talent on the team. I'd be surprised if Greer was one and done, so to speak. Real surprised. I think it would take an epically bad season for that to happen.
I'm inclined to agree with that simply because, again, I feel like Chris Greer is getting a lot of flack for maybe not having all of his free agents pan out, for not having every single draft pick pan out. Like this, you know how GMs are judged. They're always judged on what did you not do that we, the fans, feel like you should have done. They should not have drafted Noah Igbenogany in their eyes. They should have drafted one of the top running backs. They should have gone ahead and picked a J.K. Dobbins. They should have picked Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They should have picked Jonathan Taylor. They should have picked DeAndre Swift. And honestly, at the time, I agreed with that. I honestly felt like, in some ways, I still feel that way. But at the same time, I'm not going to dismiss what Chris Greer has done. Now, we're going to go ahead and do a follow-up. Now, this wasn't directly related to this wasn't a direct response to my tweet. However, it was a response to the previous tweet, which comes from Rudy, saying that many in that's Chris Greer's free agent class of 2020 were cut after one season. Greer has made a few too many mistakes for my liking. All right. So the thing about this is, like, I don't necessarily consider cutting Kyle Van Noy a mistake. I don't even consider necessarily Bernardrick McKinney trading for him and then letting him go. I don't consider him a mistake either. So what I've kind of come to realize is that if the Dolphins can help it, if Brian Flores and his coaching staff can help it, if they can get the same level of production, or at least the same-ish, out of a younger player, they're going to go ahead and go with that younger player. So I really honestly believe that cutting Kyle Van Noy had a lot more to do with the coming on of Andrew Van Ginkel, with the coming on of the other linebackers of Jerome Baker. And I think that had much more to do with the fact that Van Noy was gone this season than it actually had to do with anything with Van Noy himself.
I'm going to look at three players right now: Flowers, Van Noy, and McKinney. And they all kind of fell into the same boat. If they bring you on the team to either play at a certain level or be a starter, this is Greer, Greer and Flo. This is the way they seem to see it, just based off the 2+ years we've seen them so far. If they come on the team to bring you on the team to either be a starter or play at a certain level that they pay you to play at, and you either get outplayed by younger, like you said, cheaper competition, or you don't play to the level that they are expecting, they will cut you. However, and Skura too. However, my concern with it is, number one, with Flowers, did they cut it? Did they go a little early on that cut? Because then we got into camp and you're like, Kenley, he wasn't getting it done. And it looks like he's kind of worked his way back there, but are we sure about him? Skura, did Dieter really outplay Skura, but because Dieter was good? Or did he outplay Skura because Skura was really bad? I think he was just bad. So I'd have to say that was a bad signing, even though it wasn't expensive. And it was smart to go ahead and cut your losses. I have no problem with that. Kyle Van Noy, I think, was a situation of he just didn't quite play to the level. And they had some other guys that, like you said, were somewhat close in what they were doing, young guys. So they decided to go that route. So it's like a mixed bag. I mean, you look at the talent that they put on this team, especially young talent, and then you look at the fact that they have $70 million in cap space next year. I mean, that is great, a great job. But I have to admit, the free agent signings we've had have not been overwhelming. They simply haven't. But a lot of times free agent signings aren't. But I don't even know if we're 50-50 right now. So I would have to give Greer a C on the whole free agent signing. I just do. I think overall he's done a good job, but that's definitely one place where I've been a little disappointed. Good thing we have had some guys to step in that were younger, but it really hasn't worked out except for maybe Byron Jones. Possibly I'm missing somebody else. I don't know that I am, though. Byron Jones. That's it. I mean, so far we haven't seen Fuller. We don't know what that looks like yet, right? So we're going to see on Fuller. We still don't know, but let's see where it goes from here. Most of this team has been either drafted or undrafted free agents, which is great, but the free agent signings have been a little underwhelming.
Okay, so but if that's the case, then see, this is where the argument comes in. This is from the chat. Ryan Sprovillo, Greer and Flores have overachieved the last 2 years. As far as I'm concerned, they need 2 epically bad seasons to unload either of them. So here's the thing.
Probably right.
I agree with that. Now, here's the thing. This is where it feels like we're getting into this discussion now. What exactly has Chris Greer done aside from the 2020 hindsight with some of these draft picks, and which by the way, every team suffers from. Okay, even the Ravens and all these other teams that are supposed
to look at Belichick's record on the draft the last 5-6 years. It's horrendous. I mean, if he wasn't Bill Belichick and didn't have 6 Super Bowls and the success he did, if Bill Belichick is Andrew Smith over the past 3 years as a GM, he's gone. He's gone. I mean, New England's going to still have some good players on this team, but a lot of them are a little bit past their prime. They're still going to be really good. You know how I feel about it. But, he really, in the draft, has done a poor job over the past, say, 4 seasons or so. Really bad.
And that's the thing about it, is that he gets the benefit of the doubt because he's Bill Belichick.
Absolutely.
So now the free agent thing, again, it's not like the free agent has not worked out and there's not been anybody to take the spot. That's the thing about it that makes me okay with it. Because if you trade for Benardrick McKinney and then you decide to trade and then you decide to cut him for whatever reason, and your next man up is, and I know Alfredo loves him, but Calvin Munson is not a starting caliber player. He's not somebody I want out there starting all the time. Now, Landon Roberts, I was down on him at first last year, but as time went on, he kind of started to grow into the role he had.
I think Roberts and Eguavon, I think those guys are the ones that kind of made McKinney expendable. Another thing that made him expendable is the fact that they redid that contract. So that kind of put him on the line to, man, you better show up to camp and battle. You better look good. You better look good, better than the other young players, or we're just going to go ahead and save the few mil or whatever it was they saved. These guys, the Dolphins will save a couple mil here and there wherever they can, and they can use that to sign the guys that they've kept, that they've put on this team over the past 3 years that they're going to need to start keeping. I think that's the plan. I don't know that the plan is let's go out and get more high price free agents that we're going to cut, but let's make sure we can keep the guys on this team that we need to pay, that we have brought onto the team, that are successful. I think that's really what it's about. So they're just going to always go with the young guys. Now, a lot of coaches, especially coaches in win now mode, would still keep McKinney and Skura and these guys for the little million here and there. Most of them would, because they're thinking, well, they can be a backup, but that's not how Miami rolls. They are super, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for. They're not doing it like any other team. No, they're just not doing it like any other team. They absolutely are not. They are really going about this a completely different way, and they're willing to take a bit of a risk and not keep these veteran people that they didn't pay a ton of money to just to save a few million, because it all adds up. And you see where it adds up because you see next year's cap space. And their plan for that cap space is obviously it's going to be Gesicki and Nick Needham and just whatever they need to do with it. Restructuring guys to keep them, paying them, extending them, what have you, saving money, because you can save money over a period of a few years. 2 or 3, I think, as long as you get to stay above a floor for whenever, if you're going to be keeping Tua, if he is elite, keep some money aside for that. They're going to do all kinds of different things like that with it. Plus, maybe, I'm sure they'll still dig into a free agent or two. Every team does. Maybe on the O-line, who knows, right? We'll see how the year goes.
Holding my breath.
But they're definitely doing some different things in that regard, Miami, and it can be a little risky, but they're taking the risk.
I would have kept Benardrick McKinney myself. I would have much rather had McKinney as the starter and Roberts as the backup, as opposed to, and this is the funny thing, because Calvin Munson is on the practice squad. He's not even on the active 53 right now. So,
well, we got more talent on our practice squad this year than we had in probably the bottom 6, 7, 8 players last year on the roster. That's just a fact. That is just a fact. That's why I point to the fact that you can pinpoint this guy here, this draft pick there, that free agent there all day long. You look at 60 guys on this team, if you include some of the guys on the practice squad, and they're talented guys. I mean, you just can't complain about that. It's not a perfect roster. I don't think there is one out there, but
you could argue Kansas City.
maybe Kansas
City and Tampa.
It's like Kansas City, maybe Tampa, probably. Beyond that, there's not really too many perfect rosters out there. A lot of guys have some holes, or a lot of teams have some holes, have some issues, have some places where there's question marks, etc. But I think they've done a great job each year of building the roster overall.
I agree with you there. So no, to answer the ultimate question, I really don't think that Chris Grier is done anything worthy of him even looking at being fired. As far as I'm concerned, he's been one of the better GMs in football. So
I agree. I think that's kind of known throughout the league too. I believe that.
No, a lot of people respect Chris Grier. They do.
They absolutely do. I mean, again, eventually they're going to have to win playoffs.
ESPN doesn't respect Chris Grier for nothing, but everybody else in the NFL that matters, they do.
Well, eventually these guys are going to have to win playoff games and be a contending team, or both Flo and Grier's jobs would be at risk. But as of right now, they're not.
All right. So we're going to go into the next comment that we've had here. So this is from a good friend, Chad Wilson. He's been around for a while. Says, super excited about our entire defense and super confident in Tua and the skill positions. I am just concerned about two things. Here we go. Stopping opposing offenses, running games, and our offensive line protecting. And I already see you nodding your head. So
yeah, this is why I think we're in trouble against New England. I don't know if we're doing another episode between now and in week one.
I mean, we'll see.
This is why I think we're in trouble against. One of the things I think we're in trouble against New England is last year we were 16th against the run. I'm not really sure what we've done to get better. I mean, 16th is decent. It's average, right? It's right in the middle of the pack. I don't know. We're counting on some guys taking the next step in order to get better. We're counting on the coaching up, or hoping we don't take a step back. But when you're going to be playing New England, their offense is built like no other offense in this league. Like the offense now have become running quarterbacks or spreading it out and throwing deep and what have you, RPO and all that. Now, New England's not doing that. They're like, we're going back to when we were dominant. We're going to go back to, 6 and 7 man fronts with a 2 tight end set and throwing the ball, to the crossing tight end, to the running backs out of the backfield. We're going to be running the ball at a 6 and 7 man front. So you're going to have to stop us running the ball with those kind of fronts. I mean, that's how they're doing it more old school. They're not doing it like the rest of the league. So most defenses, including the Miami Dolphins, are not really built to play defense that way against those kind of offenses, because that's not how people are playing offense right now. Miami's has the ultimate defense built in regards to how you want to stop teams like the other 31 teams or other 30 teams, I should say, right, in this league. And that's like just the most sick, ridiculous secondary, all these cornerbacks. We got cornerbacks coming out of our eyeballs right now. And that's what you want in this league. Except, I don't know, when you're facing New England, I just don't think that's how they're going to play offense. It seems to me like they're doubling down on the stuff that's worked with them for years. Yes, they have a rookie quarterback. I understand that. But if they can run the ball for 200 yards, that really minimizes the mistakes that are going to come from Mac Jones. And that's why I'm concerned. And I agree that I'm worried that our run defense won't be any better than last year. And it was average at best.
Well, the thing is that, and we have to take this into account, Ron. We're better than what we were last season, like overall. Like you look across the board. But I get that New England,
Dolphins this year.
I get that New England has done their own little improvement game too. Now, I don't know how high you are on Mac Jones. I know that you're the Alabama guy. You tend to know these things. We know that Mac Jones is the starter. Cam got cut because of him. So
I like Mac Jones. I think I know this is going to sound like what people say about Tua that don't like Tua. I think he's athletically limited, even more so in some ways than Tua. He's not as accurate as Tua. I just don't think he's as good a quarterback as Tua, but he's got Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels coaching him and running the offense. It matters. It really does matter. Not that we have bad coaching, but Mac Jones is going to be okay. I don't think Bill Belichick would be starting him. When Bill Belichick is trying to go out and get Shula's record, he's trying to win. He's trying to get wins. I mean, look, Stephon Gilmore, he's out for 6 weeks. They even went out and made a trade at cornerback. That shows you they're not interested in giving up a few games because they're building for the future. Clearly they're not. Like, he's trying to win now. That's why he's got these names, if you will, quote unquote, on the team right now. Names that we know, names that, some of us like, some of us don't. But some people might say that these guys are maybe, to sum it up, like I said before, a year or two past their prime. Right? Maybe like they're names that we know, but are these guys really playing at the level that they were a few years ago? Possibly it's not. But it's just a different offense, man. It's going to be a different offense. I'd be really surprised to see Mac Jones back there throwing it 40 times, trying to bomb it into our secondary. If that's how they plan on beating the Dolphins, that would be really stupid because they're not going to beat the Dolphins that way.
Well, and this is how we do things. And this is what I predict is going to be the defensive game plan. I don't have any insider knowledge, obviously, but this is how I think it's going to look. So the idea is that you want to force Mac Jones to beat you, right? Make him have to throw into that secondary, because even if you do like that cover zero stuff, you still have Xavier Howard.
You're talking about like the zero. Are you talking about the zero? Us like the zero blitz?
Yes, like just stack the box, make it so that if you try to run the ball, like you can try. I mean, I know we don't have a whole lot of bodies meant to stop the run aside from a Landon Roberts and Rayquan Davis. But you throw 7 guys in there, it's not going to be easy for you to get into the second level.
I love our D-line. I mean, I think our D-line is a really underrated part of this team. It was Adam Butler, Christian Wilkins, and Rayquan Davis. I think that's not even counting Zach Sealer. No, it's not.
Emmanuel Ogba, who, by the way, he's a good
very solid
at the edge.
Very solid D-line. And we know the secondary is good. It's the linebackers I wonder about, but I think we're going to see a lot of times with that double tight end set. We're probably going to see -1 linebacker and bringing in the extra guy. So you're going to see Holland, Rowe, Coleman, X, and Jones, right? Byron Jones. I think you're going to see that 5 defense, and they're going to be bringing those safeties up to either defend the tight end or defend the run. So it's going to be interesting. I think the biggest thing in the world, which it's always been with New England when they're running their offense the way they're probably going to run it, is the tackling. Like, these guys are going to be catching these 3, 4, 5-yard little, slants across the field and outs and whatnot and crossing routes. And they're going to catch them right in front of you. You got to tackle your guy. You've got to tackle your guy. If you continue to tackle your guy and make those one-on-one tackles, eventually mistakes are going to happen. The defense is going to get there. An errant throw is going to happen. It's going to happen. But if we don't tackle well, we're screwed. And we've seen that before in the past with New England. Although I think that our defense is a pretty good tackling defense. We haven't had a tackling issue that I've seen with Flo. So I anticipate that part of it should be okay. Hopefully we shall see. But Manny, we got to stop the run. No doubt. We have to stop the run, or you're not going to force Mac Jones to a lot of 3-and-long situations if you can't stop the run.
Okay, just quick. Thank you, Simba of Sports, for the $1.99 donation. Keep killing it. I'm going to do my best. And Ron, I really appreciate having him here. He really makes things a lot easier. That's our good friend, Matthew, from the 5 Reasons Sports Network, popping in there. So we're going to go ahead and jump into the next one. This is probably more humorous than anything. And spoilers, this is demonetization danger. From Ryan Keller, why the F do we have to wait 2 weeks so I can be extra annoyed at the haters? Okay, so hey, listen, I don't mind having only 3 preseason games, although I do wish that we had just moved the start of the preseason forward instead of making it so that we have,
or move the season back 1 week, right?
Right.
And
I mean, I get it.
Have the Super Bowl around the same time. But the week off helps everybody, especially with our injury-prone wide receiving core. I don't mind it at all. I really don't mind. I'll wait the extra week if it means these guys, minus Fuller, of course, for week 1, are ready to roll. DVP's ready to roll. Wilson's ready to roll. Let's do this thing. I don't mind it. I'll wait the extra week. It's just 1 week left, and we're going to be there. Now, but of course, then they also pushed the Dolphins game from 1:00 to 4:25. So we had to wait an extra week and an extra 3 hours and 25 minutes.
Yep. So I get it. They have to get their primetime stuff out first. I understand. All right.
No, I think they moved us because that's a primetime game. New England, Miami, that's a big game. No doubt.
Okay. All right. Well, all right. So from Troy Ortiz in the chat, what do we do if Austin Jackson really struggles? Do we put Eichenberg in there or Greg Little? I'm fully anticipating that it's going to be Greg Little who gets the first call up. That's who he was. That's who it was. That's who it was just a few days into training camp. As soon as he got there, it was just okay, so Greg Little's the guy now. I mean, he did all right. It wasn't anything wow worthy, but it wasn't awful. He did if you really want to talk about somebody who did a really good job, and honestly, I wish he'd made the 53-man roster. Derval Curaz Neto, I don't think I said his name right, but holy smokes, man.
Yeah, Neto. I just call him Neto, but yeah, he's awesome. I'm excited to see what he does. I'm glad he was
next year, probably.
Yeah, next year. I'm glad. Obviously, he went to the practice squad. He was a protected player, meaning
he's through the international players program. Exactly. But this is his last year on the roster exemption. So it's next year. It's either dump or to get off the pot.
Well, depending on injuries and the way these guys play, it's possible they could bring him in as a backup guy, and he could start to see some snaps this season. It is possible. We'll see.
I would like to.
Yeah, I agree. I think Greg Little would be it.
Eichenberg's right tackle.
Yeah, he'll probably be the guy to come in.
You know what? I take it back, and here's why. It's not going to be Greg Little. It's going to be Jesse Davis. They're going to
put Eichenberg
at right tackle. Yes.
Yeah, you're right. You're probably right. That's possibly what they do too. Well, they have options at least. So I think we'll see them do some combination of that, I suppose. But I've said this before. I don't know about on this show. I think they're going to be really super patient with Austin Jackson. They're really going to let that kind of play out. He would have to be detrimental to the team for them to remove him based off performance in the middle of a game or even after a game and make a change. He would have to be completely detrimental. We're going to see probably some bad snaps and be like, oh, why is this guy still here? But I think it's going to have to be epically bad for them to move on from him during the season. I don't know. At the end of the season, they'll figure it out and we'll see what happens. But that's just my prediction on him. For some reason, they seem to have some patience with him and want to, just let him try and work through it.
Well, he was part of the Laramie Tunsil motherlode, so we really he really has some pressure on him to be good because that's his predecessor, the guy that we were able to get that for,
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, wasn't that pick? I know we call it the Tunsil motherlode, but wasn't that pick actually the Minkah Fitzpatrick pick?
It technically was, but
it was.
But Jackson is considered part of that whole, He
is, but I kind of look at it like we traded away Minkah Fitzpatrick and we got Austin Jackson. He kind of needs to work out.
I'm not concerned about that one because I still like what I saw from Javon Holland. I think he's going to be just as good, if not as eventually better than Minkah, just based on what I've seen early on.
I love Javon Holland for sure, but just looking at where that pick landed, and who we got, I'd like to see because we could have moved up a little bit and gotten Wirf, who's really worked out over in Tampa, who they needed more good players. So it would have been nice, but we'll see.
Tampa Bay is
way early on Jackson.
I'm going to say this, Ron. I'm going to say this. Tampa Bay is basically being a case study for why being 30 is not a bad thing in the NFL. For real.
They're building a team the exact opposite of what Miami's willing to do.
It's like a bunch of old guys, and they're all coming in here. It's like, hey, we've been here before. We know what we're doing. Let's go win a Super Bowl.
But that doesn't usually work out in the NFL.
No, it doesn't usually.
Let's honest.
No, it doesn't.
We've seen guys go in and build quote unquote dream teams, and they're almost built of a bunch of free agents. Not that Tampa is exclusively built of a bunch of free agents, and Wirf is not a free agent, but that we've seen teams go in and do that and not work out. We've seen them bring in these older players before, and older quarterback, older wide receiver, older this, that, the other, and it not work out. Usually, but for whatever reason with Tampa, it certainly did work out for them, and still probably will this year.
Troy Ortiz again. Jackson almost got Tua killed in that Bears game. Jackson is really close to bust material.
I think way early for that there, Troy. Way early to claim that. Let's let him play out at least part of the season before we throw out the word bust material.
I will say this. I'm really tired of Miami not willing to pay these older offensive linemen because the last time
they paid Eric Flowers and he lasted 1 year.
Eric Flowers is not an older guy. Eric Flowers was like, what is he, 26, 27, something along those lines.
And he still wasn't very good.
No, but you know who was? And he was in his 30s. Josh Sitton. For that one game that he was a Miami Dolphin before he got hurt. He was by far.
For that one game.
That one game. But he had injury history. It wasn't it's because he was old. It's
I could imagine if the Dolphins can really round out their team the way they want to on this next draft and they can truly pinpoint where the holes are. With all this money, I could see them picking up a lineman or two that's experienced that they can feel comfortable and safe with. I could see them doing that this coming off season. But for this year, this is the line we got.
I know. So we got to just live with it. All right. So next one we got here from Real Human. I really hope you're a real human. I would hate to think that you're something else. So I'm scared yet hopeful, and I want to cry. So I
think that just describes us being Dolphins fans our entire life, right?
I mean, pretty much, yeah. I mean, again, I was alive, like I was born in 1993, so I was there for like the tail end of the Marino era, so to speak. I didn't really get into football, like really, really into it until long after Marino was gone. So,
man, I was watching Dolphins football back when Marino was a rookie. And into it. Of course, I was a young kid. I was like 7, but I was just 7 or 8. I was 8 actually when Marino was thrown in there. I've been a Dolphins fan my entire life, so I just kind of was born into it with my family.
So
my entire family is not Dolphins fans anymore. They could care less. No one cares about football but me now. But I never let it go. It just never left me for some reason. One of those few consistent things in my life, being married to Dolphins football.
Death, taxes, and the Dolphins football dress.
That's it. And the Dolphins playing bad football.
No,
That's Jackson's and the Dolphins playing bad.
No. Because death and tax is never going to go away. Hopefully, don't do that.
That's what makes me nervous. No, I think I'm not hopeful for week 1, but I'm very high on the Dolphins this year. You know that I am. I just don't love the week 1 matchup.
You're traumatized by New England. You really are.
It's not just that. It's just the way. If New England had gone out there and gotten the big armed quarterback and a bunch of wide receiver free agents, which they did get Nelson Aguilar, and decided. We're going to go out and wing it like the rest of the team. I'd be like, screw off. We'll crush I just don't like the way that they've rebuilt it. I just don't think we're made to stop that. I don't think a lot of teams in the NFL are made to stop that on defense, personally.
I'm just looking at the list here, man. You're talking about these tight ends. Jonnu Smith.
Jonnu Smith is good.
I mean,
Hunter Henry is good.
Okay, but they're not like Darren Waller, okay? They're not Darren Waller.
They're not.
Eric Rowe shut down every tight end he faced, including George Kittle, by the way, except for Waller, because Waller's not really a tight end. He's just a big old wide receiver.
Yeah, and Eric Rowe's going to do it again. But here's the thing: those other tight ends, they're doing that primarily out of like a typical, 11 personnel, right? You got a tight end, you got a running back, you got 3 wide receivers. But this is not the defense we're going to face. We're going to be facing 2 tight ends that are going to be running the ball. Them running the ball out of the 2 tight end set makes me.
You're talking about them blocking.
But with the threat of them being able to go out and run routes as well at any time, chip and run. You just don't know. It's going to be very difficult to stop. I promise you, it's going to be difficult to stop. I don't know. I'm not hopeful for that week 1 matchup, man. I think New England's being way underrated by Dolphins fans right now, by a lot of people in the NFL. And I'm not like a New England fan. I hate New England, but I'm just not super hopeful for that game. If we do squeak out a win, I'll be extremely happy and a little surprised.
All right, so we're going to go on a little longer just because it's the show right before the season actually starts, so we're just going to keep on going. We still have more comments to get through, by the way.
I know people must not like my New England takes. Like, trust me, man, I'm bullish on the Dolphins. I promise you, I'm huge on this team this year. Just not that matchup. And maybe if it was even further in the year where we can prepare for it a little better.
We've given New England trouble. Okay?
Lots of times, including New England a couple of years ago when it mattered. When it mattered, week 17, I just, again, it's a prediction. Trust me. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm gloriously wrong. And we beat them 35-0. That would be fantastic. Trust me. I would happy to love it. And you can get in my mentions all day on Twitter and say, you're stupid. You're an idiot. Why'd you believe in New England? And be like, you're right. And we're 1-0 and I'm loving it. I'll take it. But it's just not how I'm feeling about it right now.
Martina Davies, I think, agree with you. Our run defense will have no hiding place. We'll get a lot of answers week 1 in New England about
100%. They are going to run. If there's no way they're going in with Mac Jones, they're going to throw the crap out of the ball. They might throw a little more than we expect, but they're not going to be like throwing the ball around field. They're going to be running. That is a good statement. Absolutely no place to hide. The run game will be tested, or the run defense will be tested week 1. Absolutely. More so than maybe just about any other team we face.
I mean, do we face the Titans this year? I can't remember.
Yeah, but again,
Derrick Henry is going to be harder than New England. I'm just going to tell you that right now.
Yeah, but it's a different type of defense, the way they run the ball. Yeah, we do play the Titans, and stopping Derrick Henry is no small feat. No doubt. If you can hold him under 120 yards without him going, ham on you, that's fantastic. But here's the thing. If Henry goes through 120 yards, I mean, how much did that team really rush for overall? Probably not a lot. New England, they can put up 200 plus, rushing yards on you. It's not going to be with just one guy either. And that's the fear with New England. Is all of a sudden you look up, it's halfway through the fourth quarter and these guys have rushed for 220 yards. And that's why you're down, 10 or 12 points and you're trying to crawl your way into this game, but you can't, because you can't stop the run. And it's, that last drive that you need to stop it and you just can't stop them from running. I mean, we've seen this multiple times before.
That's also assuming
what they're going to be trying to do again.
That's also assuming, Ron, that Tua can't keep up.
Yeah,
if you can have some point to point.
No doubt. There is that side of it that as long as our offensive line can hold up, I think Tua can definitely do some damage to New England, especially without Stephon Gilmore. I do believe that their defense could be a little bit overrated. Like I said, some guys that are a bit past their prime, but they have a good defense. I mean, they have a good core of their defense. Their linebackers are really where it's at. If their linebackers are where it's at. So we need to definitely be, I think our offense needs to look a bit more like the Chicago game and less like who do we play? Atlanta Like, I think it needs to look more like the Chicago game. We were kind of throwing the ball. It was a lot of one-on-one matchup. We're trying to throw the ball downfield. I mean, it's New England. They're going to be playing a lot of man, just like we play a lot of man. It's the same kind of defensive strategy.
Right.
Tua is good at fitting the ball in tight spots, tight little throws into tight spots on man coverage. He does that well. As long as his offensive line can give him enough time to do it, I think that he could do some damage. Absolutely.
All right. So we're going to go to the next comment here from a smart guy. How long before Liam Eichenberg is the starter at tackle? Okay. So
probably when Austin Jackson is pulled and Jesse Davis goes to left tackle, like you were saying.
So is that week 5, week 6? You think?
I really don't know. Who knows?
I do suspect that Jesse Davis will get replaced by Liam Eichenberg at some point this season. I can't really say when. I would say probably like maybe week 6 into it, because Eichenberg, it's not that Eichenberg looked bad. It's not that they look bad. It's that they want a veteran presence on there, because right now, as it stands, there is aside from Davis, there is none. There is none. Austin Jackson, second-year player. Solomon Kinley, second-year player. Michael Dieter's a third-year player. Robert Hunt's a second-year player.
Yeah,
and then
we got to remember Robert Hunt can play right tackle.
No, he can't. He
played it decently last year.
I don't want him at right tackle though.
No, I'd rather have him at right guard, because I think he's a good tackle and it can be a stud guard. So I'd rather have him just playing where he can really do the most damage. But I don't know, man. Our offensive line is it's a mixed bag. It's a mixed bag at that offensive line. It's really hard to know what they'll do, when they'll do it, when they'll pull the trigger for Eichenberg. Will they pull out Austin Jackson? I don't know that they really will, unless he's just epically horrendous. It's really hard to know what they'll do there. And then injuries pop in, and guys just get snaps based off, even if it's kind of minor injuries. All of a sudden you look up at there and, Eichenberg's a right tackle. Eichenberg's a left guard. I mean, you just never know. You know how the flow of a game is. It's going to be rare that you take 5 guys and they all 5 play every snap the entire game. Like, something usually happens somewhere and some guys get in there and get some snaps.
All right, so this next one is from Lee Connolly. It almost looks like you with a burner right now, but I know it's not, because I know Lee from a while ago.
I don't actually have a burner, unlike a couple other guys out there that clearly do and pretend like they don't.
All right, so Lee says, O-line's going to suck. Pats will run the ball up our... I don't want to feel negative. However, I see a Pats win. What are your thoughts? Okay, well, I think
I've said my thoughts, so I know point of rehashing it.
Yeah, you've said your piece. Honestly, for some reason, I actually feel good about this Dolphins game. I really, really do, because I don't think this is the same team that went into the season completely unsure of themselves, still using Ryan Fitzpatrick as the whole running point of the offense. You're
thinking about the Dolphins team last year, week 1, right?
Yes, I am.
Comparing the two teams. So yeah, no doubt. The Dolphins seemed like a better team going into this week 1 matchup, but make no mistake, so is New England. They're also a better team, but I get what you're saying. You're right. The Dolphins definitely feel like a much better team week 1 this year, going into week 1 this year, than they did last year. And I like that they're not facing Cam. If they were facing Cam, I'd be even more concerned, just because of the running threat that Mac Jones really isn't.
All right, so just going to address this from Just Incredible. I can legally show the game because it's broadcast. You just can't show the commercials. They are pay by area. Listen, if you want us to stream the game live, take it up with Ethan Skolnick, the head of the 5 Reasons Sports Network. I am not going to make any judgments on that. So until further notice, we're going to continue doing what we've been doing, which is pregame, maybe some in-game streaming in between commercials, and then we do postgame. As far as actually streaming,
I'm just a guest. So I definitely have no say.
Yeah. Take it up with Ethan. I take it up with Ethan. My hands are off this one. I'm not doing anything about that. All right. I think we have a Jets fan in here. Jets taking the division. I'm sorry, my friend.
Okay.
But
okay.
Why? What makes you think that?
I believe New England would win the division.
I have a few folks that I know who are Jets fans, and they're really nice people. Even they don't think the Jets are taking the division.
It's made me go back and relook at a few times at that team harder and look at their roster and try and dig a bit deeper. Jets fans are really, really, really bullish on that team this year. Makes me wonder if I don't think they're going to win the division, but are they going to go and surprise some people and go 6-11.
I mean, the Jets always play us tough, so that's not a surprise.
Oh, well, it's a division game. I'm not referring to us. I'm just referring overall to the Jets team.
Right, but that's what I'm
really
thinking.
bullish on that team, man. The Jets fans like their team this year for whatever reason.
I think this has some more to do with the new quarterback smell. I think that has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, we'll see. We don't even know that Zach Wilson will be. And we don't know a lot of these guys will be any good. We figure Trevor Lawrence will, but beyond that, we don't know. There's last year's quarterbacks, this year's quarterbacks. We know little about a lot of them, honestly, of who will be good and who won't. So we'll see. I don't know that just because Zach Wilson doesn't even play good this year doesn't mean he won't be a good quarterback. I mean, he's a rookie. That's a rebuilding team. The thing that gets me is I just don't feel like, hey, we saw what a team 1 year removed from Adam Gase looks like. And for me, if I was going to take a pick as to which way the Jets would look, a good team versus, let's say, the 2019 Dolphins, I would be like, I think they're going to look more like the 2019 Dolphins. Because Adam Gase, boy, he knows how to go in and just mess up a team
everything
and then leave it in ruin. It's like he's like him and Bill O'Brien. They know how to really go in and screw things up and then bolt out. Mm-hmm. So that's probably more than anything. It's one of the reasons.
No, the Jets are going to be very
bullish on the Jets.
They're going to be better this year just because Gase is gone. Just because of that.
I mean, we weren't really at first. Now it took us half the season to start to get somewhere, but at first we were probably one of the worst teams I've ever seen in my life. Not just Dolphins,
yeah, but that was by design, though.
Yeah, and I don't know that the Jets have gone in and really done what we did to the roster.
No, they didn't.
I don't think they have. No. I don't think they tore it down, which is a mistake if you ask me, because it's not a great roster. They probably should have torn it down. Trying to win 7 games instead of 3 is silly to me, but it's what most. It's what I'm telling you, man. I go back to Greer. They're doing something different over there, way different. Way different, and part of it is their ownership. And they have ownership that was willing to let them do that. And Jets have kind of absentee ownership, really. And I don't even know who the GM really was for a while. And it was like Adam Gase, he kind of hired the GM, but the GM, I'm not a Jets expert. And then the GM kind of fired the guy that hired.
I don't know how to say his name.
They're kind of a mess there. I mean, I know people say the Dolphins front office has been a mess. I kind of feel like the Jets have been more of a mess, especially at their ownership. And then they have their owner is out of town. Then their brother's kind of involved.
Well, I don't want to know anything about
it.
And it's just I don't want to compare owners right now. Speaking of which, just for the record, ladies and gentlemen, I have no control over what comments actually gets given when I put out these questions. So, Ron, I know you're going to appreciate this one. From Nicholas Bonilla, I wonder what Tua has to do / show for the Dolphins to keep from trading for Deshaun Watson. So,
whatever. Next question.
So we're not even gonna. Okay.
Nope. Okay. No, I don't. I'm done talking about Deshaun Watson. He's not gonna be a Miami Dolphin this year. How about that?
Okay. All right. I'm just gonna say for the record, as far as I'm concerned, all Tua has to do is play well and play like he did in the preseason. And Watson's never going to touch Miami. That's what I really believe. That
is very likely true. Just play like you played in the preseason, And I don't think Watson will ever be a Dolphin.
Yeah. I'm just going to point out to Jets fans, he hated Gase.
Of course you hated Gase.
We warned you. We warned you. This was not a good idea.
If you want to talk about these people that say they know so much, I'm going to give you a couple examples. When Gase was signed to the Jets, Cowherd said that's the best coach signing he's ever seen. It's just amazing. What a great signing that Cowherd that Gase was. This is what Cowherd said. So now we're supposed to believe him that he knows everything about Tua. And then Mark Schlereth said the same thing. He used to be on ESPN. But Mark Schlereth is friends with Gase, I think, from the Denver days. That's why. So maybe that was more that. But he even came out. Both of them came out and said, "Whoops, that was hard. That guy's horrible." Mm-hmm. So how could, as a Jets fan, how could you like Gase? I mean, the guy was
nobody likes Gase.
Horrible. I can't imagine he ever gets another shot as a head coach in this league.
He will eventually. I guarantee you he will.
Because his big claim to fame is that he was an offensive genius. Go look at his offenses over the past, 7 years between Miami and the Jets? Was it 6-7 years? Whatever it was. Go look at these offenses. He wasn't just an offensive genius. You and I could have gone in and made an offense the 30th in the league every year. I mean, it was just horrible. So that was I think he's like a high school coordinator right now. That's the job he could get. No one's interested in his quote unquote genius, and he's definitely never going to be a head coach again in this league. I say no way. He's never going to do it.
I wouldn't be surprised if it does happen somewhere down the
line. Well, that'd be a really bad decision if somebody
not within the next couple of years, but I think eventually he's going to get another shot. He'll get another coordinator position, and then when he gets that coordinator position, he'll be back in line.
If he went to the college, if he went to college ranks and went to a good school and did something very successful with that school, he might get another shot, like the Pete Carroll treatment.
Listen, man, Joe Philbin got another coaching job. Okay, not head coach, but still a coaching job.
He's an offensive line coach in Dallas.
So
and he sounds like when you listen to him on Hard Knocks, he kind of sounds like he knows what he's talking about. He's really good at faking his way through that.
So who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
All right. So from Daniel Meehan in the chat, Lewis, I've been saying that we need to focus our D line on bigger guys instead of versatile D linemen. We really need a big nose tackle. We have one. We have two, actually.
This team, yes, we have nose tackles. This team does not employ the 360-pound. Now, remember when you and I and Chad were doing, I don't even remember what show we were doing. It was in the off season of last year. We were doing on the regular some kind of podcast.
Dolphins Brawl. It was what it was.
Yeah. Dolphins
and
Brawl.
then things.
And remember me and Chad,
there, so.
We were joking about that like over and over every show about, we got to get that 360-pound, 350-pound nose tackle.
Yes, I want the bowling ball with legs.
The Dolphins do not employ that type of defensive tackle, that zero tech as they call it, or
we do have
nose tackle.
We have two of them. We really do. Rayquan Davis is one. He's a nose tackle. He's not.
They're nose tackles, but they're like 350, 300. But they're not even close to what
John Jenkins
talked about. They're not even close to what
John Jenkins.
Yeah, but they're not big, huge guys like that. They're big, huge guys. Don't get me wrong. I mean, they tower over us. But I'm saying, I think what he's thinking about is a zero tech, 350-pound guy. You can't move. That is not the type of defensive lineman that the Dolphins want on their defense. They just don't. I mean, at this point, let's look at it. It's been 3 years. They just don't bring those guys in. They don't bring those guys in even on the practice. Yeah, he's like 320 pounds though. I mean, it's big, but that's not. Yes, he's a nose tackle, but
Rayquan Davis weighs in, according to the official Dolphins website, 6'7", 330 pounds. Now, if you take,
that's about as big as you're gonna see.
Okay, and John Jenkins, 6'3", 335. So he's a lot shorter, and he's even more heavy. So that's your nose tackle right there is John Jenkins.
It is, but it's not what Daniel's really talking about. I know what Daniel's looking for and talking about.
Okay, if you get much bigger in the NFL, you're going to be immobile.
But that's the point, Lewis. That's the point. He's talking about a guy that's like
you need to be able to run in this league, man.
Yeah, they just want somebody that clogs up the middle that you can't move. That you just can't move him. They're talking about somebody you can't move him, but that's not what they're looking for. They're looking for guys that can penetrate, that can move around, that can line up in different spots, that can get to the quarterback, that can pursue a runner. That's the kind of guys that Miami wants. They want those versatile guys. Everything's about versatility on defense for Miami. They're huge on that. They don't usually employ guys on defense who do one thing, like sit there at 350, 60 pounds and just clog up the middle, and that's it. That's just not the kind of defense they play.
Was Paul Soliai even that big for real? I need to.
I don't know. You know what? I don't know. The Dolphins,
that's the first name that
the Dolphins have played so many different types of defense and had so many different defensive linemen over the years. I've never, until recent times, because of this question that I kind of used to ask myself, why don't the Dolphins just go out and get that kind of guy? And I realized they just don't want that kind of guy. I'm done asking the question. I'm done asking myself why they don't.
According to Pro Football Reference, which is basically my go-to when I looked up this ton of stuff, honestly, because they're even better than like the official NFL and ESPN stuff. Paul Soliai weighed in, at least the last time we saw him, 6'4", 344. So that's
a little bit closer to.
Okay, but that's like only another extra 9 pounds. Like it's not he's like.
Yeah, but it's getting more into the just a guy who you just can't move him out of the way type of territory. I don't know, but if you got in the NFL, there are some big defensive tackles, some zero tech guys out there that are like 360, 365, like some big dudes.
At that point, I don't necessarily want it that much.
That's what those teams want.
If we had gone to a raw 3-4, right? Like let's just throw this in there. You have a complete and utter base 3-4. There's no hybrid. There's no nothing, and you just have one defensive end here, and one nose tackle right here in the middle. At that point, I would be more willing to go with this let's clog up 2 blockers thing. But the way that Miami's defense is set up, it is based on this whole idea that you don't know what they're going to run.
Yeah, that's a hybrid type, confusing thing. I wonder back in the day, now I'm going back into the early to mid 2000s, Bowens and Gardner. Wonder how much those dudes weigh. Those were like some big boys.
Let's look it up. Let me just go ahead.
I'm curious, were they even in as they were probably the same size as Rayquan Davis, but it's just kind of a different.
Ron, you ready for this?
Yeah, I'm ready.
The last time that we saw Tim Bowens, he was listed as 6'4", 325 pounds.
Oh, wow. He seems so much
smaller.
Yeah, that's funny. That's just I think that's just an evolution of the NFL. You know what I mean?
And you ready for this? Daryl Gardner?
Yeah.
Did not even top 300.
Really?
295 pounds.
So the Dolphins were kind of employing the same thing back then.
And again, this is just the last time we saw. This is the last time they played. Yeah. That's what I'm looking at here. The last time they played, they were listed as this.
So they were kind of playing like under Wannstedt. They were kind of doing a lot of the same things but except I think they played a 4-3 because they had Armstrong, Bowens, Gardner, and Jason Taylor in a 4-3 defense, and Zach obviously playing the mic. And I don't even remember who were the other linebackers in their heydays, like 2001 and 2. I bet you there's some people that could.
Moreland Greenwood, I can think of. He was one of them.
Yeah, it doesn't even ring a bell to me, honestly. Interesting. Just interesting, Derek the evolution of the NFL. I'd love to go through sometime. We don't want to do it now. I'd love to go through and see who are some of the bigger defensive tackles that are, guys that are getting a lot of minutes and playing a lot in the NFL, how big they are. But anyway, I think we beat up that subject enough.
Yep. So Lee is back. He's in the chat now. As our wide receiver core collectively shares one hamstring, how long until we see Kirk Merritt called up to the first team? Okay. So
I think he's right. Let's see. I mean, we still haven't even seen. Have we even seen Fuller one time? Wasn't it like day one?
He practiced a little bit.
He's practiced a little recently too.
Yeah, he didn't start in camp. He was he
had a couple snaps.
Nope.
Maybe it was Preston Williams. No, it wasn't Preston Williams.
No, Preston Williams on the pup list. So no, it wasn't him. Will Fuller did not practice at the start. He got very, very, very late in camp. He finally started to practice. And
I wish he was available week 1. I hate that he's not. I don't think it's going to take long because, this is an injury-prone offense. Let's just take it. So or wide receiving core. It's not going to take long. Merritt will be. That's why I'm glad we were able to. I was concerned about of all the guys we released that I was concerned would be cut. I didn't really even think about Perry. I didn't think to myself, well, Malcolm Perry, is he going to be claimed or not? For whatever reason, my brain just didn't go there. But it did with a lot of these other guys like Merritt, Dokes, Reed Sinnett. And the one I was worried about the most was Merritt. I was concerned that somebody would be looking for some decent depth. I don't know. I don't know. Perry, here's the thing about Perry. Yes, he was a rookie last year, but we had a complete ragtag, practice squad group of wide receivers by the end.
Of which Kirk Merritt was there.
We really did. We had an injured DVP. He was injured the whole season. Yes, he played most of the time, but he was not even close to 100%. And we didn't have Wilson. We didn't have Fuller, obviously. Gesicki got hurt. Yes, he's a tight end. Who else got hurt last year? Receiver. Preston Williams got hurt. And Perry really still couldn't even break through. He couldn't break through on special teams past Grant. He couldn't seem to break through past Mac Hollins and guys like that.
Okay, but Mac Hollins,
I understand it's two different. I understand it's completely different body types, but I'm just saying. New England grabbed Perry.
I would have picked Perry over Jakeem. I would have picked not Jakeem. I would have picked Malcolm Perry over Lynn Bowden. Just based on what I've seen now.
Yeah, but Lynn Bowden we didn't lose because he just went to IR. But
because he hurt himself. Ooh, we're stashing him.
I wasn't really super concerned about that. I thought Merritt,
you stub your toe. Oh, you're gone for the season. I hope you don't mind. We're just gonna let you have a year off.
I'm gonna say by week 5 or 6, Merritt will be called up to the starting lineup. That's my prediction. I'd like for it not to happen because we have some good wide receivers, and I'd love to see them not be injured. So that would be awesome. But I have a feeling that guy by week 5 or 6 will be called up to the 53.
All right. So this one from P. Kelly, the lack of ID has put too much focus on Tua. This co-OC thing better work. Okay. So I guess we're still concerned about who's actually calling the plays. I will go ahead and point this out, though. Didn't Tua, you would know this better than me, didn't Tua have a co-offensive coordinator system in Alabama?
They have multiple coordinator systems, but wasn't it Sarkisian calling the plays back then? Oh, God,
but Charlie Fry is the one calling. Charlie Fry is the one communicating the plays, though, for Miami. So it's always coming from the same body. It's just that the two guys are coordinating on what play.
I think we're not 100% sure who. We know we have one OC down on the field. We have one OC up in the box, if you will. And I'm pretty sure the guy who's up in the box is the one that's going to be calling the plays. Pretty sure that's the way it's going to go. I'm just not super worried about I keep forgetting that we even have two OCs. They've designed an offense that's suited for Tua. They designed plays that Tua knew how to run. It's going to be a mostly RPO offense, which is perfect for Tua. He was the best RPO college quarterback ever, probably already the best RPO NFL quarterback. They've designed a good system for him. They're buying into what he can do, and they're working around what he can do. Completely opposite of Chan Gailey. So I'm not worried about the whole, we have two offensive coordinators and who's calling the plays. And I think people are way too hung up on all that. Just know that they've designed a quarterback or an offense around Tua, and it's an offense that he likes to run, knows how to run, and is good at running. And that's all you really need to know. I mean, will there be maybe sometime, somewhere, at some point, there'll be one miscommunication of something, and everyone's just going to lose their crap over it. I just think people are way too hung up on it, personally. That's just my opinion.
All right, so this will be the last comment that we take specifically from Twitter. If anybody else has any other questions, we will address them very briefly here in the chat. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring this up now on Twitter. So Sebastian Fernandez, if Miami loses against Mac Jones's Patriots next Sunday, that will be the media's nail in the coffin for Tua. All we will hear about for the rest of the year. It's a must-win on that front.
Yeah, they're going to say that. I already have my mental what should I say? I'm already mentally prepared for an ugly week between New England and Buffalo game. I already am. It doesn't, whatever. I don't care what the media says anymore. I really don't. They don't know any. Man, I'm so tired of hearing people talk about our quarterback that don't know nothing about that guy. I mean, seriously, they don't. I mean, you're talking like Colin Cowherd. Come on, man. You don't know nothing about quarterbacks in general. He looks everything as this in these huge generalities. As he makes fun of people for being a fan, but he knows less about football than fans do. I mean, he looks at football from a betting, and things like that kind of stuff. Like that's his angle, and everything he does all about betting. He's like, oh, look at Tua and all these big armed quarterbacks he's going to face. Well, first of all, Tua doesn't face any quarterbacks. He doesn't play defense. Secondly, this league has never been prevalent on big armed quarterbacks. We've seen big armed quarterbacks come and go to the end in this league. And we've seen plenty of quarterbacks who aren't, maybe have an average arm, like I would consider Tua to have lots of success in this league. Most of these people, it's interesting to me. The guys who understand football, the ins and outs, the X's and O's of it, and who break down film, you ever notice that all those guys out there doing that, all of them seem to like Tua, right? Baldy, Orlovsky, those guys, they all like Tua. And you ever find that interesting that the guys that really know football like Tua, and the guys that just speak in generalities about that have these kind of weird, almost sexual crushes on Justin Herbert, and that don't know anything about football, they don't like Tua. Like, who cares what the media says? They just don't know anything. They go up there on ESPN and all these channels and just speak in generalities. They truly don't know football. They don't understand the ins and outs of it, the X's and O's of it. And if any of those guys were ever GMs, those teams would be horrible. Simple as that. That's how I feel about it.
So what does that say about Sam Acho, who was a 9-year veteran of the NFL, and he went out of his way to knock Tua down as well?
And, it's his opinion. I mean, I think that there's some people that know football that don't like Tua, but I would say most of the guys who really know football and know the quarterback position in and out and break down film like Tua. I just find that interesting. They see a lot of traits in him that they really like. They see a lot of things that he does that is really next level in this league already. And he hasn't even really started to discover, that yet, or we haven't been able or gotten to discover what he can do yet. So I'm not worried about what the media says. That's the last thing. I'm worried about how Tua plays. Worried about the team winning or losing, but what the media says anymore, it doesn't matter to me.
And just going to go ahead and give a shout out. Thank you, Lee, for the £2 donation. I really appreciate that. So
£2, that's like $3.45 or something. No, I don't know how much it is actually.
I don't know how much it is. No, but it's always appreciated to be able to get a little something really awesome. Thank you so much. So we're gonna go ahead and close the show with this
longest show ever, right?
Not for us. I mean, it's long because we usually only go half an hour because we're always on a time crunch, but not this time. So Just Incredible is basically asking us, when are you gonna cover the game? Okay, I'm assuming he's referring to talking about the game that's coming up and not so much the whole streaming aspect of it, because I'm just gonna go off of that assumption because again, we already discussed the streaming thing and I'm not going any further into it. So I mean, let's talk about the game. What would you say is the key for Miami to win? Just stop the run and not let New England run all over us? Is that it?
Stopping the run, tackling those tight ends and the slot receivers, etc. First solo tackles. You're talking about you're gonna have playing a lot of man, a lot of one-on-one type. Solo tackles, stopping the run. You do those things, you're going to put Mac Jones into third and long positions and situations, I should say, and it's going to be a long day for him. So that is the absolute key for me to winning this game.
All right. So, and as for me, the key to winning this game would honestly, basically make Mac Jones beat you. Make Mac Jones beat you, because if you force I'm going to do this again. I'm going to put the scenario out there. You put 7 guys in the box, and you leave the 4 guys out there in the secondary on an island. If you do that, and you have to remember who's out there. It's not like there's this Joe Schmo who the heck is this guy? You have Xavier Howard and Byron Jones covering whoever the 2 wide receivers are. And by the way,
and Nick Needham if you need to, and Justin Coleman. We have 4 good cornerbacks that can cover.
Yeah, that's a corner.
A lot of teams don't have 2.
Now the assumption is that let's say it's 5 linebackers and not 5 linebackers. What am I trying to say? 4 linebackers, 3 defensive linemen, right? So that leaves 4 backs. And I don't think that's going to be the case, by the way. I fully expect the Dolphins to be mostly a nickel and dime defense because that's what they're predicated on.
They're going to try and probably stop the run out of nickel defense with 2, with 3 safeties or 3 cornerbacks and 2 safeties, bringing Eric down, bringing Holland down. It's going to be interesting.
Bring Brandon Jones down into the box, a la Rashad Jones, and you have a Landon Roberts there in the middle. You have Rayquan Davis acting as the big dude right there. You're going to have Emmanuel Ogbah and whoever is the other guy that we're going to have there at the time. I'd say probably Zach Sealer, if anything, or Christian Wilkins.
Yeah.
Setting the edge. And then you have Jerome Baker. He's just ready to shoot the gap.
Jerome Baker can cover. That's going to be very helpful in this game.
For real, right? So, I understand your concerns, but I don't see an actual weakness because it's all about scheme. The Dolphins defense is all about scheming. It's not about the personnel per se.
A lot of that scheming is the same scheming that Bill Belichick does.
Right.
So he kind of knows how to attack it.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So if anybody could emulate it for either this is what makes this game so interesting, because we're basically seeing 2 clones of each other right now, because it's not like they don't have the obvious advantage of Tom Brady.
I think we have a little bit stronger defensive line and definitely a stronger secondary, especially with no Stephon Gilmore. I think they have a much stronger linebacking core. So I think that's but they're going to play defense a lot of the same way. Yes.
All right.
Now, I know one thing we know from camp, Tua knows how to attack our defense because he actually did quite well against it. Made us nervous until we saw the first preseason game, right? We were like, what is going on with this defense? Why can't they stop this guy in camp? Then we realized, maybe our offense is just going to be good this year. Guess we have to see.
That would be a nice change of pace, don't you think?
And it would. It would. And, one thing I just think we're not talking about enough is this special teams. They kept Grant, so we know we have a really good returner.
And we don't have to put Jalen Waddle out there. Thank God.
And we don't have to risk Waddle. And we have a fantastic kicker. And now we have a fantastic punter. Great with directional punting. Great at punting inside the 20. He's like a really, really, really good punter. We have
top 5 punter.
Yeah, we have a top 5 punter, a top 5 kicker, top 5 running, top 5 guy. running the ball back. On the return, top 5 return guy, I guess I should say.
We everybody's so mad at Grant. He's an all-pro returner for a reason.
There's a lot of hidden yards in what Miami's doing on special team. And then the next part is we're such a low penalized team, such a disciplined penalized team.
Another Belichick thing.
And also a lot of hidden yards in that. There's a lot of hidden yardage in Miami's game and the way they've built this team and the way this team is coached that no one's talking about that makes it the difference, even if we're playing teams that are better than us or really good teams. It keeps us closer in a lot of games because of that, because we're not giving it away on penalties and we're getting that little extra either way on special teams, and no one's really thinking about that, but it definitely matters.
Yeah, it matters a lot, and that's what makes it so interesting. The Patriots don't have the obvious Tom Brady advantage anymore. Whatever they end up doing, they have to make sure that they get it down to a science, just like we have to now, because there's no more, Brady will just bail you out of a jam. This is not Tom Brady. This is Mac Jones, who Patriots fans are praying becomes the next Tom Brady, because they've been talking about, the same body type coming out of college. He's also a very flabby looking, nothing impressive.
Yeah, I find it.
I'm like, really?
Hey, I like Mac Jones, and I'm not saying Mac Jones isn't going to be a really good quarterback. Maybe he's even going to be a playoff quarterback.
Sure,
but this dream that they found another Brady because Belichick's going to turn him into that, man, I wish that just let one.
How many backups have they tried to turn into Brady?
One Patriot fan be on here. You guys are freaking morons if you think that. Seriously, you could not be more wrong. It's ridiculous. Such a ridiculous thought that this guy is all of a sudden going to be Brady. There is one Brady only, and probably maybe will only ever be another Brady in the next, that'll be the one Brady in 50 years. To think that somebody else is going to come right behind him and be Brady again, y'all are delusional, beyond delusional. It's crazy.
The only kind of team that's had that kind of luck has been the Packers. Brett Favre and then Aaron Rodgers.
Well, in San Fran, we've seen teams.
Montana, Steve Young. Yeah,
we've seen teams go from back-to-back quarterbacks that were good. But we're not talking back-to-back quarterbacks that were good. Like Tom Brady's like all-time great. That's different than back-to-back quarterbacks that are really good. I mean, Mac Jones might, like I said, he might be a really good quarterback, but he ain't Brady. He ain't going to be Brady. And I don't think I have to step out on much of a limb to feel pretty confident about that statement.
Now, can Tua be Drew Brees?
We'll see.
That would be that. You see, that's the funny thing.
I look at him more like a Russell Wilson than a Drew Brees, but I know people think that Drew Brees is really the comparison. I get it. The accuracy, the height. I get it.
Can I tell you why? What else? And this is what makes it so funny to me when people complain about his arm strength. Coming out of college, that was how he was advertised. The left-handed Drew Brees. Drew Brees does not have a rocket arm. Not from the very beginning of his career did he have a rocket arm.
Yeah, Drew Brees has never had a rocket arm.
Not even as a rookie.
Hey, you know what? Tom Brady doesn't have a rocket arm.
His arm was stronger than Brees, though.
Yeah, it was. It's just never been
right. So if you're complaining about Tua's arm strength, then you would have complained about Drew Brees while he was here. Just saying.
People will complain anything about Tua.
I know. But this is our own fan base, though. Like, not even the Tua haters. They're always. You even said average arm strength. I
did. I think he has average arm strength.
But that's what I'm saying is that apparently average is bad. I'm like, okay, so that means Drew Brees' arm was terrible. That's what it is there.
Excuse me. Tua has an NFL arm and can make all the NFL throws. That's it. That's all you need him to do. That's what you need. That's where his arm needs to be in the NFL and play good NFL quarterback. Is to be that, and he is that. No, he does not have a particularly strong arm. That would be silly for us to sit here and say that he did. Joe Burrow doesn't either. In fact, I would say Joe Burrow doesn't even have a strong arm as Tua. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't think that Zach Wilson necessarily has a super strong arm. I think he has a decent arm. It's probably a little bit more than Tua, but there's plenty of quarterbacks out there playing without an epically strong arm. All of a sudden, Justin Herbert came in.
Justin Herbert just came. Yeah, he completely.
And he came in and he's throwing the ball all over the place. Down 14 and 21 points all day. On a team that had nowhere to go, no playoff aspirations, no pressure, and he has a really strong arm. And he was the second guy in 3 years that broke the rookie records. Second guy in 3 years. It's the new NFL. Justin Herbert might end up being just a fine quarterback, but these guys are anointing him like he's like Dan. I actually heard Colin Cowherd. This is when this was the day I deleted all his apps, or all his podcasts, I was completely done. I blocked him. I blocked Joy Taylor. I deleted all their podcasts. I deleted every podcast that he even supports, and I muted the words Colin Cowherd and Joy Taylor and the Herd on my Twitter. Was when he said, "I think that guy's the next Dan Marino." Or I think he's as good as Dan Marino. That's what he said. Not the next Dan Marino, that he's as good as Dan Marino. I was like, nah, I'm out. I'm totally out. You're a moron. I'm out. So we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see how it goes.
Marino, there's no comparison.
No.
All right. Very briefly, just gonna go ahead because we're gonna talk about I'm gonna ask who's your favorite player, who's your player to see a breakout maybe, and also we'll do a quick score prediction from Lee one more time. Has Jalen Phillips been held back thus far? Will he be unleashed somewhat week one? I think he has been held back, but not in the way that it sounds. I think it's more along the lines of they're trying to get him to practice stuff that he's not good at necessarily, like coverage and stuff like that. We already know he can.
Yeah, he has to be able to do those things. Miami doesn't really have specialists in their defense. You have to be versatile. You have to do multiple things. Yes, they'll put him in situations where he can go out and rush the quarterback, but they're not going to allow. Rush the passer. They're not going to have a situation where when you put Jalen Phillips out there, everybody knows, oh, he's just rushing the quarterback. Let's just run around him. Let's run around him because he can't stop. Or let's do this, that, or the other. You know what I mean? They're not going to do it. So until he learns to do multiple things, he's not going to get a lot of time on the field. But he will get situations where he's going to be able to rush the quarterback. Oh yeah, it's going to take time. Together. But I think more of the situation with Jalen Phillips is they're trying to be ultra careful with his concussion situation. So because he plays like an animal, man. I don't know if you saw him in Miami. When I say Miami, the Hurricanes, like in college. The guy, you ask, how does a defensive end get concussion issues? Just watch that guy play. Holy crap, man! I hope he can come in Miami and play like that eventually in a year or two. That would be special. That would really make this defense a lot better. If I
am predicting we see at least 3 sacks this year from Jalen Phillips just from third and long snaps alone.
That would be great. I hope so.
Just
I hope he can
get snaps alone.
I'd love to see him get in there and get 5-6 sacks this year. And just like you said, 3 and long, get him in there on 3 and long situations for sure. Where let him pin his tail back some, but he's going to have to learn to do the other things too, or he's not going to really be a every down guy. And like I said, the preseason stuff I think was maybe more about the concussion than anything. Just trying to make sure that they're protective there.
All right. So who's your key player for that game?
Key player for week one?
For week one, yes, because the next time we do a show, unless we decide to do another date, it'll be after that game.
My key player for week one.
Don't say Tua.
No, not Tua, not Tua. I'm going to go Gesicki.
Mike Gesicki?
I think Gesicki is going to be a really key player. I think that the way the Dolphins are going to play offense, that it's going to leave Gesicki in a lot of one-on-one situations against guys he can absolutely beat. And I believe Tua can definitely get the ball where it needs to be. So I think Gesicki is going to be like a key guy, a breakout guy. He's going to have a lot of – I predict a big game from Gesicki.
So you're predicting a big game from Gesicki.
Yeah, I think he'll be a key player for sure.
I think he's going to be a key player, but I'm more concerned that Belichick's going to shut him down. Because that's what he likes to do.
Then he's going to get slayed. Then be careful. Then he's in trouble. Because if he's going to try and shut him down and allow these other wide receivers if he's going to allow Waddle and Wilson and these guys and DVP and these guys to really just play one-on-one ball, and Tua get the ball there. That's going to be ugly. I would suggest that he tries to take whoever his version of Eric Rowe is and tries to cover Gesicki before he goes and tries to double cover Gesicki and let the wide receivers run wild. I think that would be a huge mistake from Belichick, in my opinion.
Well, they don't have Jason McCourty anymore. Devin's still there, so do you think Devin McCourty? 34 years old.
I can't say again. That's why we talk about the New England defense. Yes, on paper they look good, but it is a group of guys that probably a lot of them will pass their prime and don't do the things as well now that they did a few years ago.
All right, my key player for this upcoming game. You know what? I'm actually going to go a little out of the box. I'm going to say Savon Ahmed. Okay, and here's why.
I almost went Gaskin, so it's interesting that you're going.
I chose Ahmed for a reason. It has more to do with the fact that I suspect that the way that this Dolphins offense is going to run, they're not going to necessarily try to ram it down the Patriots' throats or anything. And even if they did try to do that, I'm not sure that Malcolm Brown or Myles Gaskin will get much success.
Well, Malcolm Brown probably won't.
But Ahmed catching passes out of the backfield, going on those wheel routes.
He'll get his shot there, but they're going to have to run the ball some with him too.
They will have to run it.
Every time he gets in, you're going to know that what he's there to do is to catch a pass.
I suspect that speed will be more effective than raw power between the guards.
Interesting.
That's my
is faster than people realize, though.
I know he's faster than we think.
He can catch the ball. He can run the ball. He can run outside, inside. I like Gaskin.
And I do like Gaskin. But the speed guy in this rotation is Ahmed.
Definitely. And they never go 2 running backs. They just don't run that kind of offense.
No.
You know what I mean? They don't ever go 2 running backs, 1 tight end. That's just not. I've never seen them do that. Once in a while they're throwing a fullback. I'm interested to see if they do any kind of fullback stuff with Tucker. They kept 5 tight ends. They kept Tucker. Interested to see what they do there.
And finally, we're gonna end it here. What's your prediction and the score?
Oh, you're gonna make me do it, aren't you?
We got to.
29-23 New England. Sorry, guys. I feel if it hurts me to say it, but that's
fine. Then I'll just go the opposite direction. I'll say 29-23 Miami. Woo!
I hope you're right. I'd love to be wrong. I'm wanting to be wrong. Trust me.
All right. So thank you all so much once again for joining us for this episode of the Pulse of Fins Nation. I know it went a lot longer than usual, but you guys have stuck with it, and I really appreciate it. And once again, you still have time to join in. We do have on Thrive Fantasy, on thrivefantasy.com, we do actually have a very specific contest that you can go ahead and get on. You can use the promo code in the description to get started. They will match up to $100 on your deposit when you first sign up. So go ahead and get on there, because I'm going to be getting on there, and I'm normally not a betting man, but you know what? I kind of changed my mind. I kind of want to see if I can get in on this, because there's a lot of really great deals going on, and I've already won one. So I'm really happy about that. So good for me on that one, I guess. So go ahead, get on there, use the promo code 5fins. You can go ahead and get on our free to enter on Thrive Fantasy Dolphins contest, and you could win a free 5 Reasons t-shirt. All right. So with all that said, thank you all so much for joining us, and we will see you all next time for another episode of the Pulse of Fins Nation next week after the game. Have a good night.